Hi, my name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with HealthyBlackWoman.com, and this is Shaquita Graham with LovingTheBlackMan.com and Ateco.com. How are you doing today, Shaquita?
I'm doing good, Noma. How are you?
I'm doing well. We were just discussing a story that's up at naturallymoire.com, and I'm going to share a little bit about what I read there. The title of it is Mac Model Claps Back on Haters After Racist Comments About Her Lips. That's the story at naturallymoire.com. And the story goes that there was a model who was featured in a photo for the popular MAC Cosmetics brand, and unfortunately the image featured hundreds of ridiculous and disrespectful comments that stemmed from hatred and racism. The picture was absolutely beautiful and of course needed no explanation. The model's name is Amito Lagoon, and she's the beautiful model behind those beautiful lips. But she says she isn't going to let those racist idiots get her down. She went on Instagram, which is where all the racist comments were, and she says, "Oh, my lips are giving you sleepless nights." And then she just went on to say, "Thank you, MAC Cosmetics, for this killer color, and to that makeup artist," and she left it there, which I thought was a pretty classy and succinct response. So what are your thoughts, Shaquita?
Well, it's funny to me that you know, her lips are giving people sleepless nights. And I think that if they're mad about it, they should talk to God about it, because when he created all of humankind, he created them to look like her. So I think that what they're exhibiting or what they're seeing is just the exquisite workmanship of God, and they, you know, shouldn't let the jealousy overtake them and move them into such a hateful stance against something that's just obviously beautiful.
I think what's interesting is you find non-black women who constantly inject their lips and their butts, and they're usually inspired, quote unquote inspired. The look is usually inspired by a black woman. So I find it pretty peculiar that when you see authentic full lips, that there's hatred towards it when people go out of their way and spend money that some of us could buy a house with or a car with, on injecting themselves. It doesn't make any sense to me, but then again, to me nowadays, not a lot of things make sense in terms of race relations in this country. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you know, it makes perfect sense to me, because the qualities that you see, like one of the comments of one woman said is that, oh, black women, you know, the only thing that they have that's good about them is their melanin, and we can get our lips injected and we can get, you know, our butts injected, and then we look flawless. But what she fails to realize is that you can't just take piece and parcel of something that is a complete package. You know what I'm saying? Melanin is something that pervades every cell in our body. You know, all the phenotype that we have, the characteristics that we have are a part of our genetic code, and a needle can't replace that. That's God given. So, you know, I don't know. It's hard for me to sympathize and to really see from that person's perspective, except to say that I know what it's like for people to just be so in love with you that it inspires hate because of the jealousy. And I see that people have spent a lot of time trying to degrade this image, and it just begs the question of why. You know, Paul Mooney talked about this a lot in his stand-up comedy piece called A Piece of My Mind, where he talks about how a lot of our images and different things have been stolen throughout history.
Okay, yeah. I also thought it was interesting that she, you know, okay, so she responded, but I thought it was nice. It was nice that she didn't get, excuse me, she didn't get caught up with the racist and go back and forth with them. She was just kind of like, oh, my lips are keeping you up at night, I see. Then she moved on. But to me, this looks like a bigger thing. I and you can agree or disagree with me on this, but I do feel like in the last maybe 3-4 years, there seems to be almost like a boldness in terms of, it goes from the killing of, young black men and people get away with it who are non-black people. It goes with, disrespecting the president. You can disagree with his policies or his politics or whatever, but still respect that he's the president. I just feel like the racism and the social media bullying, I think they've cranked it up a notch. Or maybe I've just become more aware of it, but it seems to me, in the last few years, and it's weird because this is the time where we have a black president and a black first lady in the White House, but it seems like it just unleashed something in some people that, I've been living in this country now for almost 2 decades. I haven't seen it this bad, in the time that I've been in this country. And I wonder why that is. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really loving it because I want people to say what they feel. I don't want you to hide behind a smile, and I don't want you to pretend like you are, a Christian saint who loves the world. I want the history of white people and the psychosis and the whole perspective that they have to be front and center. And Donald Trump is the man who's really, he's their candidate to bring it to the forefront. And nothing has really changed. This sentiment that caused them to lynch and castrate people, the same sentiment that caused them to pack people into large ships and bring them here, that has been within them this whole entire time. They have just been refining that perspective and that plan. And right now, the fact that when anybody shows an ounce of self-respect for themselves, Black community, there's a backlash. There's an immediate backlash because the idea is to stamp out it's just like an abuser. If you're in an abusive relationship, that person wants to keep you feeling so inferior that they can continue to abuse you. And I think that, something that we saw, like the doll test that they've done over the series of years where they have the black doll and the white doll. And, they say, which doll is bad? And they always choose the black doll for the bad things. That is our litmus test. When our children get the image or the idea that their image is good and positive, and I give my children that test, then we're getting somewhere. Right. Until we get our image in our minds of our children as an empowered view of that image, then we're not moving in the direction we need to go. So that's what I think about it. I think we need to focus on how we feel about ourselves, because 90% of the globe can't continually be oppressed by 10% of the globe.
Right. My take on it is that I think it is partly what you're saying, where I think that I don't think racism ever went away. I think it just took a different form, a more politically correct, a more hidden form. But it was, I've always, that's why I don't have a job and my kids are not in school. Even when people are being polite and doing supposedly what they're supposed to do and so forth, if you pay attention, there's that underlying thing that at first I couldn't pinpoint what it was, but it started to become apparent eventually, whether I was in the workplace or whether my kids were in school. And for me, that was something I couldn't handle. So, of course, I removed myself from that situation and removed my kids. And I recognize that not everybody can do that. We all have to put food on the table as best as we can. So that's not, that's a conversation for another day. But I will say, though, that I'm in agreement with you that it's better to have it in your face than to have it stabbing you or scratching you or picking at you and you're not quite sure what's happening to you. That gives us a chance to address it. That gives us a chance to push back. And if it ends up exploding or whatever, then so be it. Because my whole thing is, and, this is on a personal level, on the macro and the micro and the macro level. If the only way that I can get along with you is when you're disrespecting me and thinking that I'm inferior to you, then we just can't get along, So I think that's where we are. And this may seem like a small story. Oh, MAC Cosmetics and a black model, what's the big deal? But it's symptomatic of a bigger problem and a bigger issue that we face every single day, I feel, in this country. And I think I've said it before. I've met, non-black people who I adore famously. So I'm not painting everybody with the same brush, but I personally believe there's a disease that needs to be cleansed and medicated and removed. And we can't deny that. When you go to that post and you look at all those comments, yeah, those people need a healing.
Well, and those are the same people that we're sending our children off to school to be taught by. Those are the same people that we go to the operating room and let them operate on us. Those are the same people that we go into the courtroom and let them be the jury.
And the judge and the police.
Yes, exactly. And the idea of the image, see, that's just a surface thing, but that goes back to the eugenicists who determined that based on certain characteristics of your facial type, that categorize you as a certain type of human or not human. So, again, you go back to Francis Cress Welsing theories, like, okay, you spend a lot of time trying to talk about how I'm inferior. However, the black gene is a very dominant gene. So I'm just wondering who's telling the truth here? Like, why are you all of a sudden projecting these ideas on me? So, again, it's just about us knowing the truth about ourselves, our children knowing the truth about ourselves, and us moving in that truth and on a global level.
Right. I think that's a good point to close with. It really is. Of course, we're dealing with some external forces, but it really is important to tackle this from the level of the internal, where we deal with ourselves and how we see ourselves, and just what you said. I just want to remind our viewers that this is Your Black Women. This has been a segment of Your Black Women, where Black women keep it real. And this is my good friend Shaquita Graham. Shaquita, thank you for joining me for this important topic. My name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses. I hope that everybody could hear me because I'm just recovering from laryngitis and having just had a baby who's now almost 2 weeks old.
Adorable baby.
Yeah, who's, he'll be 2 weeks old tomorrow. So I've been enjoying the journey and the process. And I just want to say to our viewers, thank you for watching, and thank you, Shaquita.
Thank you for watching.